Joining us right now from the East Coast, where he's still hanging out after calling the radio action for the Los Angeles Chargers beatdown of the Carolina Panthers. He is none other than Daniel Jeremiah. Good to see you, DJ.
Good to see you, Rich. I'm not looking for endorsements, but there's a full spread downstairs. It's a nice thing when you're traveling with teams. So you've got a whole, it's all there for you. But I can't resist, man. It's just such a convenient, easy move. Get back to the room with your Cheerios.
Yep.
And you're good to go.
You know what? I never thought you and Omar from The Wire would have anything in common, but there it is. It's Honey Nut Cheerios, DJ.
It's a fantastic cereal. And I also let's be honest here. Like this is not getting eaten, but let's just try and look the part when you leave the meal room with a bunch of professional athletes. You know?
Yes. You just give off the impression that you care.
That's it.
So the Los Angeles Chargers 2-0 for the first time in 12 years. You've had a front row seat. What's this team looking like? Jim Harbaugh sprinkling his Harbaugh dust on it. What's your 2 cents?
Yeah, you want to talk about clear vision and plan of what you want it to look like, and then executing the vision and the plan. This is something that really took place as soon as Jim got in the building. And then with Joe Ortiz there, I think they're on the same page in roster construction. Remember, Rich, it's not that long ago, everybody freaked out when you have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen leave the building. And they're like, just hang on, we've got a plan here. And they go out and get Joe Alt, who's 2 weeks now. It's been awesome. Rashawn Slater's fully healthy. He's been fantastic. They kicked Trey Pipkins inside to guard. Now they have this massive offensive line. They're playing with 2 and 3 tight ends. They've converted a defensive lineman, a 300-pound Scott Matlock, to fullback. J.K. Dobbins looks like as good a running back as we have in the NFL right now through 2 weeks. So they have this vision. I told Money as we were finishing up the game yesterday, I said, how many Clark Kent games have we had with the Chargers since Herbert's been here? It feels like there's a lot of Superman games where Justin Herbert's got to throw for 450 and, shrug off tacklers and make unbelievable plays and kind of carry the team to victory. This is 2 weeks in a row now where he can be Clark Kent, and eventually it feels so much like your Michigan team last year, Rich, where it was like, is JJ McCarthy any good? And it's like, yeah, he is good, but they're gonna need him when they need him, and they're gonna find ways to win a bunch of games other ways. And then when those games rise, he's gonna be fresh and ready to go, and he'll deliver. I feel like that's the formula that they've just replicated here with the Chargers.
Well, since you opened the door, I'm gonna go straight in. And Jesse Minter's not getting the plays, is he, DJ? You know what I mean? Like he can coordinate a defense. This guy. Daniel.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal.
Right.
And look, Mack and Bosa both are off to great starts. They're very coordinated on the back end. They give you no cheapies. Let me back up and say that against the Raiders, who had, a fighting chance offensively, that's another conversation with where the Carolina Panthers are presently. But this is a very buttoned up defense that plays very hard. And to be honest with you, it's rested because the offense is bludgeoning the other team and keeping your defense fresh on the sideline.
Right. And listen, you've got to beat the teams that are on your schedule in front of you. And with the Steelers and Chiefs next for the Chargers, obviously there's some pudding and there'll be some proof and things of that nature. But you still have to beat the teams directly in front of you. And you've got in week 1, J.K. Dobbins coming to the fore. In week 2, Quentin Johnston, who was much maligned in his rookie season last year. And the Chargers against lesser opponents were chargering, and we didn't see much of that over the first 2 weeks. And I'm just wondering, Jim is kind of throwing that photo of him holding up the number 2 for 2-0 with his arm around Quentin Johnston. He seems to be throwing his arm around people. And then the stuff with Herbert where he wants to wear his shoes, like he asked for an actual pair of his shoes so he could wear it. Like, what is Jim up to, Daniel? What's he up to here?
I don't know if people, and you do, you know, because you know him. But I'll give you an example. I got in here Saturday night. So I didn't fly with the team this week. Stayed, I wanted to watch my son's high school game. So I get in Saturday night. I get into the hotel. I go right to the meal room. There are not many people in there because they're a little bit later at night. And it's Jim Harbaugh sitting there with Joey Bosa, just the two of them sitting at a table. I get my dinner. I'm hanging out watching some of the college football game that's on the TV in there. And they sat together for, I was in there probably 35 minutes, just the two of them. And Harbaugh, just connecting with one of his better players. You heard the soundbite from before they left on this trip where he said, "Hey, let's pack the board games." Well, I went in there last night after the game's over, and there's a bunch of the specialists in there. They're playing cards. I walked outside. There's a table with Uno cards on it out there. I mean, I'm like, it literally is. It's like, this is like camp. They have found a way to connect, and you want to use the analogy even of put your arms around these guys individually. People can laugh at that stuff and say whatever they want. I'm seeing it in real time. Like, there's a lot of connection that's taking place with this coaching staff and with this group of players. And Quentin Johnston's a fine example of someone who had lost his confidence somewhat last year, has come in and they've fueled him with confidence. And now you're seeing the performance start to follow.
Daniel Jeremiah, Move the Sticks, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. So you saw Bryce Young right in front of you. I mean, we spend a ton of time about the quarterbacks 2 drafts ago. Does that look like the kid you saw on tape in Alabama? I mean, what's going on with him, Daniel?
No, he's got, talk about, just a lack of confidence. Just getting a yard is difficult. The body language of kind of the whole group is not good. I mean, there's not a lot of talent. It's one of the least talented teams I've seen. I came into the league in 2003, was my first year. That's, to me, it's one of the worst rosters that I've seen. And that's especially taking into account Derek Brown, who's their best player, who's out. But offensively, I mean, they weren't even trying to throw the ball down the field. I mean, you'd have to look at the next gen stat numbers, but there might only been a couple throws in the first half where the ball traveled more than 5 yards. And it was like watching a high school game. And he does not look like somebody who's confident. He was missing bubble screens. He was missing hitches. Like, these are high school throws that he's been able to make in his sleep for his whole life that look like a challenge at this point in time. So I'm watching that Sunday night game last night, Rich, and I'm seeing the Bears fans, and maybe it's just Twitter as a whole, lose their minds and freaking out over Caleb Williams. And I'm like, guys, this is not what I just saw with Carolina. This is a totally different deal. Caleb Williams and the Bears, you're going to be fine there. The Carolina Panthers and the situation right now with Bryce Young, I'd be, I said it at one point in time in the game. I said, there's a couple things I know. That the Chargers are a very physical team, and the Panthers will have the first pick in the draft next year. Those are the two things I came away with.
Well, and let's talk about Caleb a little bit here, because earlier in the show, Daniel, I was saying exactly what you were saying. Hey, listen, it's just game 2, and they can't all come out of the box like the other guy that was playing for the Texans, right? and by the way, C.J. Stroud was 0-2 last year. The Bears are 1-1. And there was improvement from game 1 to game 2. My only concern was, and again, I know it's just a screen grab. He could have gotten straight up, and he could have been rah-rah and standing there, rallying the troops right after this still shot. But I saw this, and, with a C on your chest, and you're the quarterback of the Bears, I don't care if last night was like Utah on steroids for you. That's not it. And Eberflus was talking about Caleb Williams having great body language and disposition coming out of that difficult week 1 win. I'm wondering what your 2 cents are on Caleb, Daniel.
I'll take a different approach on that picture, Rich, because I watched the tape this morning. I think that is more exhaustion than frustration, if that makes any sense. He got the living stuffing kicked out of him in this game. And whatever it looked like on TV, it looked 10 times worse when you go and watch it on tape. And on top of that, he scrambles around like crazy. So I think he literally was exhausted. I watched it, and I was specifically looking for this because of all the pressure that he was under. And I posted just one play on social media to show the center literally getting thrown into his lap on a 3rd and 14. So I was watching specifically for this. And I say, is he gonna be, frustrated with his offensive line? Maybe try and show up his offensive line, who, I mean, he got peppered that whole game. I didn't see it once. Now, on the other side of it, I love DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a phenomenal player, and by all accounts, I've heard nothing but great things about DJ Moore as a person. DJ Moore showed up as quarterback in that game, flipping his helmet off after a throw that wasn't accurate as he was going off to the sideline. And that to me, that was something. If you're in the Bears side of things, that would be, hey, we got a rookie quarterback back there. This is second game. This is one of the best teams in the NFL we're going up against with elite edge rushers. He's getting the crud kicked out of him. He's still firing. We're still in this game. We got a chance to win the game. And you can't do that to a young quarterback. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there, but I came away saying, okay, Caleb, I thought showed some maturity on the field of just getting back up the next step, the next snap, the next snap. And I thought DJ Moore, that'd be one thing that I was a little curious about. And I don't think that's indicative of who he is. I just think that was one example of watching that tape where I was like, I didn't like that very much.
How about that? Okay. So, but overall, you saw improvement from Caleb week 1 to week 2.
Rich, like you go through those games. First of all, Houston's really good.
Yeah,
Not to mention how good they are up front.
Right.
Stingley might be the best corner in the NFL. I mean, he's right there.
Right.
And so that is a talented group. And then, like, I'm watching that game, and it doesn't show up on the box score when it's 3rd and 9 or whatever it is. And Caleb rips it a 30-yard seam ball that's perfect, and the receiver gets drilled, pass interference, your ball at the 5-yard line. You don't get those passing yards. That doesn't show up on your stat sheet. But that's a big-time throw. Rome Odunze, unfortunately, not able to haul in the touchdown right after that. He puts it up beautifully, perfect ball, doesn't haul it in. Now, Caleb missed throws. There's, more than a handful. There's times where he gets stuck on his first read. He didn't work through it. Plenty of teaching tape for him. There's tons of stuff he can work on. But I came away from that saying this kid, I know for a fact, is tough as nails. He just kept getting back up. And as a team, if you're a Bears fan, that is one of the best teams in the NFL. You had the ball in your hands late with a chance to go win that ball game. I think I would be encouraged by that.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. What are your 2 cents of Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix through their first 2 rookie season
I had
games?
a chance to go through Jaden's stuff this morning. I thought he played clean. He took a bunch of sacks in that game, but I thought they did a nice job designing things, get the ball out of his hands quick. I thought his mind looks like it's working really fast. It looks like somebody who's played a lot of football, which he has. Accurate. I thought he did some really nice things and trying to keep the ball out of harm's way down the field. Kingsbury did a nice job of scripting some things where had like a little leak play where they leaked the tight end out. They got him wide open. I thought you could see plays building off of one another. And I came away encouraged. I mean, I think that it's got to be hard for somebody as talented as Jaden Daniels to kind of bottle some of that and not try and do everything. And I think that's where the difference is with him, early on versus Caleb. Both these guys are supremely talented, and I think Caleb's maybe trying to do too much of that, trying to make some of those quote unquote hero plays where Jaden's playing a little bit more under control. But look, that's an encouraging sign the way he's played. I studied Bo from last week. I did not have a chance yet this morning to dig through his stuff for this week. But I mean, that's, numbers wise, it didn't look pretty from this last week's game.
Well, I mean, it seems to be a combo of line up front, running game is virtually non-existent. Cortland Sutton is the only guy that seems to be able to separate, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not watching all 22, but just eye test. It's a rough watch, man, right now in Denver.
Yeah. And I also think, I mean, the rush to want to label these guys and put them in a bucket at this early, you know what I mean? Like, let's let it breathe. Let's let Sean Payton figure out how to best use his quarterback as you go forward. I don't think they have a ton of pieces offensively, as you mentioned. But I think the panic button on rookie quarterbacks a couple starts in is probably a little premature. And I was thinking about this the other day, Rich. I don't know if we had talked about this, but is this year not an interesting example, or really over the last couple years of, sometimes there's some patience needed, and sometimes where you are and how you fit belongs. I mean, you look at what Baker's doing in Tampa. Look at like Goff. Remember early Goff in his career when he was labeled, and then look what he's blossomed into. Geno Smith. We're seeing what Sam Darnold's doing now with the competent supporting cast in Minnesota. Like, it's so easy to look at that guy taking the snaps and put everything on him. there's a lot more that goes into it.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's your takeaway from Saints Cowboys, Daniel? What's your takeaway from that?
Well, Alvin Kamara found the time machine, I guess. Clint Kubiak is already. I mean, I'd like to be his agent. The way he's dialing things up with the Saints, and Derek's playing great. So that's a team that I don't know that I spent 2 minutes thinking about, much less talking about in the offseason. And now they've come out the gates on fire. So I think it's a creative scheme. I think the quarterback's playing at a high level. And I think we're reminded that Kamara is still one of the, he's one of the special players in the league because of all the different things he can do and the stress that he puts on at defense. But I'm, as encouraged and as much of a cheerleader as I was for the Cowboys defense week 1, man, that might be the biggest drop off from week 1 to week 2 was that side of the ball for the Cowboys.
So then what is Clint Kubiak doing with the Saints that, again, you could say, well, that was Carolina week 1, but that's a Dallas defense that marauded Cleveland, that absolutely put the bang thing on them in week 1. And now Dallas's defense looked like that, and the whole thing fell apart in 1 week for Dallas.
Yeah. No, there's a rhythm and a timing to it. It's just hard to get a beat on what they're doing. They're changing the launch point, first of all, which I think is one of the more underrated aspects when you're designing plays in the NFL. If you're letting teams get a beat on where your quarterback's going to set up, and there's just more good pass rushers than good pass blockers in this league. So to constantly be moving the launch point, changing the rhythm, changing the timing. I think we think of timing and rhythm with quarterbacks. That also works for pass rush. When you can get a feel if he's going to be here, the ball's coming out at this time, we can coordinate and we can get home. He doesn't let you settle in. And I just thought, watching what they did and then having chess pieces like they have. Shaheed's a really good player. I don't know how many people around the country even know who he is, but he's an explosive down the field weapon. It's all working together really well right now.
All right, so in the couple minutes I have left with you, Daniel Jeremiah, I could go in so many different directions, so I'm going to go sports talk radio macro with you. Dallas, Baltimore, San Francisco, Cincinnati, all teams that coming into the season we thought not only had a chance to win their division, but go deep into the playoffs. They all lost in week 2. 2 of them are 0-2. That's Baltimore and Cincinnati. And Dallas and San Francisco are 1-1 right now. The one that concerns you the most long term for this season. And again, knowing that Cincinnati has started 0-2 before. San Francisco is IR'd Christian McCaffrey. Dallas, we're now shrug emojiing. And Baltimore lost 2 games, one that they could have won, one that they should have won late. What are you thinking, Daniel?
This is going to make for a terrible talk radio segment, Rich. I'm not worried about any of those teams.
Okay. You're not?
I'm not. I think you can go through them individually. Like, you can't watch Cincinnati yesterday, and knowing that they're not at full strength. That is the, back-to-back defending Super Bowl champ. And if, it was 100% the right call. It was a penalty at the end of that game. But if you don't have a little overzealous play defensively at that moment in time, and he just jumps straight up in the air, they walk out of the home of the 2-time defending champs with a win and played them incredibly tough. And they have a track record, as you mentioned, of slow starts and figuring it out. So I'm okay with Cincinnati. I think they'll be fine. Dallas, maybe of all those teams, just because of the Jekyll and Hyde nature of those 2 games, would be the one that I'm maybe curious about. But I still think the fundamentals are there with talent on defense. You've got the right quarterback. I don't think that division's going to run away from them. So I think they're going to be okay. San Francisco, San Francisco and Baltimore I'll put in the same bucket, in that physicality is something that wins out in this league. And it might, maybe you can talk about the ceiling cap. But to me, you play as hard and as physical as those 2 teams do, it starts at 9-10 wins. And then, however good the play is from there, you go up. But I don't envision a postseason without either one of those teams.
All right, then I'll give you 4 more, and you choose whichever one you want to talk about, because I know your time is limited here. Arizona put the crusher on the Rams, who are just so banged up, but Arizona did what they needed to do. Marvin Harrison Jr. looked the way that he did right there. Tampa is now 2-0, having avenged their playoff loss to Detroit. Green Bay with Malik Willis ran the ball down the Colts' throat. And all you need to do with Jordan Love out, if he's out for the next 3 weeks, get one. If you get two, there's a cherry on top on that front. You got that win, and you got the Jets coming from behind to give Aaron Rodgers his first win. And amazingly, his first touchdown pass as a Jet goes to the youngest player in the NFL, literally half his age. So I'll give you that as an omnibus right here to send you out the door. Which one you want to pick and choose that leaps out at you?
Yeah, I mean, the Jets one, because, and not pandering, but I'm curious to see what the next steps are with Reddick now that you have the Jermaine Johnson injury. You know, does that change that situation? Because it would seem like that would be a reason for everybody to come together and figure out a way to get him in there. Will McDonald played great yesterday. That was fun to see for them on the defensive side of the ball. But I think everything's there for them in that division. You know, Buffalo is really good. You know, take nothing away from them. But New England, I don't foresee them being over 500 by the end of the year. Miami with the quarterback situation, you know, that obviously puts their season in a little bit of jeopardy. So I think everything's out there in front of the Jets. So I'm curious to see, you know, if they can get back to playing a little more consistently on the defensive side of the ball. That's been maybe a little bit of a disappointment early on here, but you know, I think it's right there for them. And then coming over into the summer, I'd say one of the teams I was most excited to watch was Arizona. And I know the Rams are beat up, Rich, but if you have a buffet of games to watch, and you're flipping from one to the other, you know, you're in the press box of the game and you see, you know, a bunch of games on there. Is there anybody more fun to watch than Kyler Murray? For all the, you know, the criticism and the contract and watching tape and all that stuff, if you're just a pure football fan, he is a fun dude to watch. And to see Marvin Harrison get going early on in that ball game. The Arizona Cardinals are a very watchable product, in my opinion.
Daniel Jeremiah, so are you. Listenable as well. You know, tell the Chargers to get you a king size. I don't understand what's going on with the Twins back there. You know,
did you which bed did I sleep in last night? I made it. So see which one do you think?
Wow, great. I'm gonna go. Hold on a minute. I'm going with the one on the left. Left. Yeah, left. TJ, you want to chime in here?
So you're going this one right here?
Going with that one right there.
That's correct. That's correct. Good job, guys.
Hey, but by the way, it's still an excellent job for a man on the road,
though, right?
Big solid effort. Pillows could be fluffed a little bit more, but I mean, I'm nitpicking.
I went down and got my Cheerios and coffee this morning, and I ran into Harbaugh and Ortiz. And like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, I got to go upstairs and make my bed. I got to do Rich's show. And they just looked at me like I had three heads.
You're the best, man. So the Chargers staying out east, and what a game that's going to be. Oh, my God. Paint swapping in the trenches. Chargers, Steelers, 2-0 versus 2-0. That's going to be great. Enjoy that, Daniel.
Looking forward to it. All right, Rich. See you, buddy.
You got to @Move the Sticks. Check out Daniel Jeremiah back here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.